Countries portrayed as luxurious mansions. Albania.
Albania is a country in Southeast Europe known for its diverse landscapes, rich history, and cultural heritage.
Algeria.
Algeria is a North African country with a Mediterranean coastline and a Saharan desert interior.
Andorra.
Andorra is a small mountainous country in the Pyrenees between France and Spain, known for its ski resorts and tax haven status.
Angola. Angolan architecture blends Portuguese colonial and African styles. The culture embraces diverse indigenous traditions and music. Antigua and Barbuda.
Antigua and Barbuda is a Caribbean nation known for its reef-lined beaches, colonial history, and sailing events.
Argentina.
Argentina is South American country with a diverse landscape that includes the Andes Mountains, glacial lakes, and pampas grassland.
Armenia.
Armenia is an ancient landlocked country in the South Caucasus, renowned for its early Christian landmarks and mountainous landscapes.
Australia.
Australia is a vast country continent known for its natural wonders, coastal cities, and vast outback.
Austria.
Austria is a Central European country known for its mountainous alpine scenery, rich cultural history, and classical music heritage.
Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan is a country in the South Caucasus, blending Eastern European and Western Asian influences with a rich history and natural resources.
Bahamas. Bahamian architecture reflects colonial influences. The culture is known for Junkanoo festivals and vibrant music. Bahrain. Bahraini architecture blends modern skyscrapers with historic sites. The culture values traditional music and cuisine. Bangladesh. Bangladeshi architecture includes ancient temples and mosques. The culture is rich in traditions with diverse music and dance. Barbados. Barbadian architecture features colonial-style buildings. The culture celebrates calypso music and cricket. Belarus. Belarusian architecture showcases historic churches and castles. The culture values folk traditions, including dance and music. Belgium. Belgian architecture boasts medieval towns and Art Nouveau designs. The culture is known for chocolates, waffles, and brewing. Belize. Belizean architecture combines Caribbean and Mayan influences. The culture embraces diverse traditions and music. Benin. Beninese architecture features traditional mud brick buildings. The culture includes Vodun religion and vibrant festivals. Bhutan. Bhutanese architecture includes colorful monasteries. The culture values gross national happiness and traditional dress. Bolivia. Bolivian architecture showcases Spanish colonial influences. The culture embraces indigenous traditions, music, and folklore. Bosnia and Herzegovina. Bosnian architecture reflects Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian styles. The culture features diverse music and cuisine. Botswana. Botswanan architecture includes thatched huts and modern cities. The culture values traditional dance and wildlife conservation. Brazil. Brazilian architecture ranges from colonial to modernist styles. The culture is famous for samba music, carnival, and soccer. Brunei. Bruneian architecture features grand mosques and palaces. The culture is influenced by Islamic traditions. Bulgaria. Bulgarian architecture includes ancient Thracian and Ottoman influences. The culture has rich folklore, music, and dance traditions. Burkina Faso. Burkinabe architecture includes adobe mosques and homes. The culture values community and traditional music and dance. Burundi. Burundian architecture features traditional thatched roof houses. The culture includes drumming and dance as integral parts. Cabo Verde. Cabo Verdean architecture reflects Portuguese influences. The culture celebrates Morna music and vibrant festivals. Cambodia. Cambodian architecture includes Angkor Wat and traditional stilt houses. The culture values Buddhism, dance, and shadow puppetry. Cameroon. Cameroonian architecture ranges from traditional huts to modern buildings. The culture features diverse music, dance, and cuisine. Canada. Canadian architecture blends modern cities with natural landscapes. The culture is diverse, with a love for ice hockey and multiculturalism. Central African Republic. Central African architecture includes traditional round huts. The culture embraces storytelling and traditional music. Chad. Chadian architecture features desert dwellings and Islamic structures. The culture values nomadic traditions and music. Chile. Chilean architecture combines colonial and modern styles. The culture celebrates folk music, dance, and a love for nature. China. Chinese architecture includes ancient temples and modern skyscrapers. The culture is rich in history, with diverse traditions and cuisine. Colombia. Colombian architecture features colonial cities and modern designs. The culture values salsa music, festivals, and coffee. Comoros. Comorian architecture includes thatched huts. The culture includes Swahili traditions and music. Congo-Brazzaville. Congolese architecture reflects French colonial influences. The culture celebrates dance, music, and diverse traditions. Costa Rica. Costa Rican architecture includes colorful homes. The culture values biodiversity, soccer, and pura vida lifestyle. Croatia. Croatian architecture features medieval towns and coastal cities. The culture includes traditional music, dance, and cuisine. Cuba. Cuban architecture includes Spanish colonial and Art Deco styles. The culture is known for salsa music, dance, and cigars. Cyprus. Cypriot architecture blends ancient ruins and modern cities. The culture features Greek and Turkish influences, with traditional music and cuisine. Czechia, Czech Republic. Czech architecture includes Gothic, Baroque, and Cubist styles. The culture values beer, classical music, and literature. Democratic Republic of the Congo. Congolese architecture varies from colonial to traditional styles. The culture is diverse, with music and dance at its heart. Denmark. Danish architecture showcases minimalist design and historic castles. The culture values hygge, biking, and modern design. Djibouti. Djiboutian architecture includes modern buildings and traditional homes. The culture features nomadic traditions and music. Dominica. Dominican architecture reflects colonial influences. The culture is rich in Creole traditions and music. Dominican Republic. Dominican architecture features colorful colonial buildings. The culture is known for merengue music, baseball, and dance. Ecuador. Ecuadorian architecture ranges from colonial to modernist styles. The culture embraces indigenous traditions, music, and cuisine. Egypt. Egyptian architecture includes pyramids and ancient temples. The culture is steeped in history, with hieroglyphics, music, and cuisine. El Salvador. Salvadoran architecture showcases colonial churches and modern structures. The culture values family, pupusa cuisine, and music. Equatorial Guinea. Equatorial Guinean architecture reflects Spanish influences. The culture features traditional Fang and Bubi music and dance. Eritrea. Eritrean architecture includes Art Deco and Italian colonial styles. The culture celebrates diverse traditions, music, and coffee. Estonia. Estonian architecture features medieval towns and modern design. The culture values singing traditions and technology. Eswatini, Efmenaro Swaziland. Eswatini architecture includes thatched roof huts and palaces. The culture features reed dance and traditional music. Ethiopia. Ethiopian architecture includes ancient rock-hewn churches. The culture values coffee ceremonies, diverse traditions, and music. Fiji. Fijian architecture includes traditional bure huts and modern resorts. The culture features meek dance and vibrant festivals. Finland. Finnish architecture showcases modern design and traditional wooden houses. The culture values sauna, nature, and music. France. French architecture includes Gothic cathedrals and chateaux. The culture is known for wine, cuisine, fashion, and art. Gabon. Gabonese architecture ranges from traditional huts to modern buildings. The culture includes diverse music, dance, and tribal traditions. Gambia. Gambian architecture includes traditional compounds and colonial buildings. The culture features storytelling, music, and festivals. Georgia. Georgian architecture features ancient churches and fortresses. The culture values wine, traditional music, and dance. Germany. German architecture blends historic castles with modern cities. The culture is known for beer, classical music, and engineering. Ghana. Ghanaian architecture includes traditional mud brick homes and forts. The culture features vibrant kente cloth, music, and festivals. Greece. Greek architecture includes ancient temples and whitewashed houses. The culture values mythology, olive oil, and traditional dance. Grenada. Grenadian architecture reflects colonial influences. The culture is known for calypso music, spices, and festivals. Guatemala. Guatemalan architecture features colonial cities and traditional Mayan villages. The culture includes colorful textiles, music, and cuisine. Guinea. Guinean architecture includes traditional round huts and modern buildings. The culture features diverse music, dance, and festivals. Guyana? Guyanese architecture showcases colonial buildings and wooden houses. The culture is diverse, with influences from India, Africa, and the Caribbean. Haiti. Haitian architecture reflects French colonial influences. The culture features Vodou religion, vibrant music, and festivals. Holy See. Vatican architecture includes St. Peter's Basilica and historic buildings. The culture is centered around the Roman Catholic Church. Honduras. Honduran architecture includes colonial cities and Mayan ruins. The culture values traditional music, dance, and cuisine. Hungary. Hungarian architecture features historic castles and thermal baths. The culture includes folk music, dance, and paprika cuisine. Iceland. Icelandic architecture includes turf houses and modern designs. The culture values storytelling, music, and geothermal pools. India. Indian architecture showcases ancient temples, palaces, and modern cities. The culture is diverse, with rich traditions, music, and cuisine. Indonesia. Indonesian architecture includes temples and traditional houses. The culture celebrates diverse traditions, music, and dance. Iran. Iranian architecture features stunning mosques and palaces. The culture is steeped in history, with Persian traditions, music, and cuisine. Iraq. Iraqi architecture includes ancient Mesopotamian sites and Islamic mosques. The culture has a rich history, with traditional music and cuisine.
Ireland.
Irish architecture ranges from castles to thatched cottages. The culture values storytelling, folk music, and pubs. Italy. Italian architecture includes Roman ruins and Renaissance art. The culture is known for cuisine, opera, art, and fashion. Jamaica. Jamaican architecture reflects colonial influences. The culture is famous for reggae music, Rastafarianism, and vibrant festivals. Japan. Japanese architecture includes temples, shrines, and modern skyscrapers. The culture values tea ceremonies, traditional arts, and sushi. Jordan. Jordanian architecture features ancient Petra and Islamic sites. The culture is steeped in history with traditional music and cuisine. Kazakhstan. Kazakh architecture includes Islamic mosques and modern buildings. The culture values hospitality, traditional music, and nomadic traditions. Kenya. Kenyan architecture includes traditional Maasai huts and modern cities. The culture features diverse traditions, music, and wildlife. Kiribati. Kiribati's architecture includes thatched huts and colonial buildings. The culture revolves around the ocean, music, and dance. Kuwait. Kuwaiti architecture blends modern skyscrapers with historic forts. The culture values Islamic traditions, music, and cuisine.
Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyz architecture includes yurts and Islamic mosques. The culture features nomadic traditions, music, and cuisine. Laos. Laothian architecture showcases ancient temples and traditional stilt houses. The culture values Buddhism, traditional music, and dance. Latvia. Latvian architecture features medieval towns and modern design. The culture includes song festivals and traditional celebrations. Lebanon. Lebanese architecture includes historic ruins and modern cities. The culture values cuisine, music, and diverse traditions. Lesotho. Lesotho's architecture includes traditional rondavels and modern buildings. The culture features Basotho music, dance, and mountain traditions. Liberia. Liberian architecture combines traditional huts with modern structures. The culture values diverse traditions and music. Libya. Libyan architecture includes ancient Roman sites and Islamic architecture. The culture is influenced by Berber, Arab, and Mediterranean traditions. Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein's architecture includes medieval castles and alpine villages. The culture values outdoor activities and music. Lithuania. Lithuanian architecture features medieval towns and modern design. The culture includes traditional music, dance, and festivals. Luxembourg. Luxembourg's architecture includes historic castles and modern buildings. The culture values multiculturalism and traditional festivities. Madagascar. Malagasy architecture includes thatched huts and colonial buildings. The culture features diverse traditions, music, and dance. Malawi. Malawian architecture ranges from traditional huts to modern cities. The culture values storytelling, music, and dance. Malaysia. Malaysian architecture showcases mosques and modern skyscrapers. The culture is diverse, with influences from Malay, Chinese, and Indian traditions. Maldives. Maldivian architecture features overwater bungalows and coral mosques. The culture revolves around the ocean, music, and dance. Mali. Malian architecture includes mud brick mosques and ancient cities. The culture values traditional music, dance, and storytelling. Malta. Maltese architecture features historic cities and Mediterranean influences. The culture includes traditional music, dance, and festivals. Marshall Islands. Marshallese architecture includes thatched huts and modern buildings. The culture values navigation, music, and dance. Mauritania. Mauritanian architecture showcases desert dwellings and Islamic mosques. The culture features traditional music, dance, and hospitality. Mexico. Mexican architecture ranges from ancient pyramids to colonial towns. The culture is known for mariachi music, cuisine, and Day of the Dead. Micronesia. Micronesian architecture includes thatched huts and modern buildings. The culture values seafaring traditions, music, and dance. Moldova. Moldovan architecture features historic monasteries and modern designs. The culture includes traditional music and dance. Monaco. Monaco is known for its glamorous modern architecture and luxury lifestyle. The culture is influenced by French and Mediterranean traditions, with a strong emphasis on wealth and entertainment. Mongolia. Traditional Mongolian architecture features nomadic yurts, while urban areas showcase modern buildings. Mongolian culture revolves around nomadic traditions, horseback riding, and throat singing. Montenegro. Montenegrin architecture includes medieval churches and Venetian-style coastal towns. The culture is diverse, with influences from the Balkans and the Adriatic coast, celebrated through festivals and cuisine. Morocco. Moroccan architecture showcases intricate tilework and ornate palaces. The culture is a blend of Arab, Berber, and French influences, with a love for music, storytelling, and flavorful cuisine. Mozambique. Mozambican architecture is a mix of colonial and African styles. The culture celebrates traditional dance and music, with influences from Portuguese and indigenous traditions. Myanmar, formerly Burma. Myanmar's architecture features pagodas and Buddhist temples. The culture is deeply rooted in Theravada Buddhism, with traditional music and dance playing a significant role. Namibia. Namibian architecture reflects German colonial influence, with African thatched roof huts in rural areas. The culture is rich in indigenous traditions, including storytelling and ethnic music. Norway. Norwegian architecture combines traditional wooden stave churches and modern designs. The culture embraces outdoor activities like hiking and skiing, and it's deeply connected to nature. Nauru. Nauru's architecture is influenced by its phosphate mining history, with colorful buildings. The culture is a blend of Nauruan traditions and Pacific Island influences. Nepal. Nepali architecture includes intricate temples and wooden pagodas. The culture is diverse, with Hindu and Buddhist influences, and a deep appreciation for Himalayan traditions like mountaineering and trekking. Netherlands. Dutch architecture features historic canal houses and modern designs. Dutch culture values art, cycling, and cheese, and it's known for its tolerant and liberal society. New Zealand. New Zealand's architecture includes Maori meeting houses and modern structures. The culture is a mix of Maori and European influences, with a strong connection to nature and outdoor activities.
Nicaragua.
Nicaraguan architecture showcases colonial buildings and colorful houses. The culture is influenced by Spanish, indigenous, and African traditions, celebrated through music and festivals. Niger. Nigerian architecture includes traditional mud brick houses and mosques. The culture is deeply rooted in Tuareg and Hausa traditions, with vibrant music and dance. Nigeria. Nigerian architecture features diverse styles, from mud brick huts to modern skyscrapers. Nigerian culture is rich and diverse, with numerous ethnic groups, languages, and a vibrant music scene. North Korea. North Korean architecture is known for grand monuments and socialist realism. The culture is highly controlled by the government, emphasizing loyalty to the state and its leaders. North Macedonia. North Macedonian architecture includes Ottoman and Byzantine influences. The culture is a blend of Slavic, Albanian, and Turkish traditions, with a strong focus on food and music. Oman. Omani architecture features elegant mosques and historic forts. Omani culture values hospitality, traditional music, and the arts, with a rich maritime heritage. Pakistan. Pakistani architecture is marked by intricate mosques and historic forts. Pakistani culture celebrates diverse traditions, languages, and cuisines, with a love for cricket and music. Palestine. Palestinian architecture features historic cities like Jerusalem, with ancient structures and modern developments. Palestinian culture is marked by a rich history, Arabic traditions, and the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Palau.
Palauan architecture includes traditional huts and modern buildings. Palauan culture is deeply connected to the ocean, with a strong emphasis on marine conservation and traditional storytelling. Panama. Panamanian architecture includes colonial-era buildings and modern skyscrapers. The culture is a blend of indigenous, Spanish, and Afro-Caribbean influences, celebrated through festivals and music. Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinean architecture varies from traditional huts to modern constructions. The culture is incredibly diverse, with over 800 indigenous languages and a rich tradition of art and storytelling.
Paraguay.
Paraguayan architecture combines colonial influences with Guarani indigenous styles. The culture is influenced by both Spanish and Guarani traditions, with a love for folk music and dance.
Peru.
Peruvian architecture includes ancient Inca ruins and Spanish colonial structures. Peruvian culture is a fusion of Inca, Spanish, and indigenous traditions, with a strong culinary heritage. Philippines. Philippine architecture showcases Spanish colonial buildings and modern developments. The culture is a mix of indigenous, Malay, and Spanish influences, celebrated through festivals and diverse cuisine.
Poland.
Polish architecture features medieval castles and colorful towns. Polish culture embraces a rich history of music, literature, and a love for hearty cuisine like pierogi. Portugal. Portuguese architecture includes historic castles and intricate azulejo tilework. Portuguese culture celebrates fado music, a strong maritime heritage, and delicious cuisine like pastéis de nata. Qatar. Qatari architecture features modern skyscrapers and traditional Arabian designs. Qatari culture is deeply rooted in Bedouin traditions, with a focus on hospitality and Islamic heritage.
Romania.
Romanian architecture includes medieval castles and Orthodox churches. Romanian culture is influenced by a mix of Latin, Slavic, and Hungarian traditions, with a love for folklore and cuisine.
Russia.
Russian architecture features iconic onion-domed churches and grand palaces. Russian culture is rich in literature, classical music, and a deep appreciation for ballet and chess.
Rwanda.
Rwandan architecture is a mix of modern structures and traditional huts. Rwandan culture is marked by the revival of traditional dance and music after the genocide, promoting unity and healing.
St. Kitts and Nevis.
The architecture of St. Kitts and Nevis includes colonial-era buildings. The culture celebrates Afro-Caribbean traditions, with vibrant festivals and a love for cricket.
St. Lucia.
St. Lucian architecture features colorful houses and colonial-era structures. The culture is influenced by African, French, and Caribbean traditions, with a strong emphasis on music and dance. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The architecture includes colonial-era buildings and beachfront resorts. The culture is a blend of African, British, and Caribbean influences, celebrated through festivals and calypso music.
Samoa.
Samoan architecture features open fails and churches. Samoan culture values family and community, with traditional dance and music playing a central role.
San Marino.
San Marino's architecture includes historic towers and medieval buildings. The culture is deeply tied to its rich history as one of the world's oldest republics.
Sao Tome and Principe.
The architecture of Sao Tome and Principe showcases colonial-era buildings. The culture is influenced by Portuguese traditions, with a love for cocoa farming and vibrant music.
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabian architecture features modern skyscrapers and historic mosques, like Mecca's Grand Mosque. Saudi culture is deeply rooted in Islamic traditions, with an emphasis on hospitality and desert heritage.
Senegal.
Senegalese architecture includes traditional mud brick houses and colonial-era buildings. Senegalese culture is marked by vibrant music and dance, especially the rhythms of the djembe drum.
Serbia.
Serbian architecture showcases Orthodox churches and historic fortresses. Serbian culture values traditional music, epic poetry, and a love for sports like basketball and soccer. Seychelles. Seychellois architecture includes Creole-style houses and beach resorts. Seychellois culture celebrates its multicultural heritage, with influences from African, French, and Indian traditions.
Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leonean architecture features traditional mud brick houses and colonial-era buildings. The culture is diverse, with indigenous traditions, music, and a strong emphasis on community. Singapore. Singaporean architecture boasts modern skyscrapers and innovative designs. The culture is a blend of Chinese, Malay, Indian, and Western influences, with a focus on culinary diversity.
Slovakia.
Slovak architecture includes castles and charming villages. Slovak culture values folklore, traditional music, and outdoor activities like hiking in the Carpathian Mountains.
Slovenia.
Slovenian architecture showcases historic towns and alpine chalets. Slovenian culture embraces nature, with a strong tradition of skiing, hiking, and appreciation for local cuisine. Solomon Islands. Solomon Islander architecture varies from traditional huts to modern buildings. The culture is rich in indigenous traditions, including music, dance, and storytelling.
Somalia.
Somali architecture includes traditional nomadic huts and historic mosques. Somali culture values oral poetry and the arts, with a strong emphasis on clan-based society.
South Africa.
South African architecture features a mix of colonial, modern, and traditional designs. South African culture is incredibly diverse, with influences from Zulu, Xhosa, Afrikaans, and more celebrated through music, dance, and cuisine.
South Korea.
South Korean architecture includes palaces and modern skyscrapers. South Korean culture is deeply rooted in Confucianism, with a love for K-pop, kimchi, and traditional hanbok clothing.
South Sudan.
South Sudanese architecture varies from traditional huts to modern buildings. The culture is influenced by indigenous traditions, with a strong emphasis on tribal communities.
Spain.
Spanish architecture features historic castles, Gothic cathedrals, and Moorish palaces. Spanish culture values flamenco music, bullfighting, and a rich culinary heritage.
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lankan architecture includes ancient temples and colonial-era buildings. Sri Lankan culture is a blend of Sinhalese, Tamil, and colonial influences, celebrated through festivals and flavorful cuisine. Sudan. Sudanese architecture showcases ancient pyramids and modern developments. Sudanese culture is diverse, with Arab and African influences, and a strong tradition of music and dance. Suriname. Surinamese architecture includes colonial-era buildings and modern constructions. Surinamese culture is a mix of African, Indian, Javanese, and indigenous traditions, celebrated through music and cuisine. Sweden. Swedish architecture features charming wooden cottages and contemporary designs. Swedish culture values nature, with a strong tradition of outdoor activities and a love for fika, coffee breaks. Switzerland. Swiss architecture includes alpine chalets and modern cities. Swiss culture is marked by precision, chocolate, and a strong tradition of winter sports like skiing and snowboarding.
Syria.
Syrian architecture boasts historic mosques, ancient ruins, and medieval cities. Syrian culture is a blend of Arab and Mediterranean traditions, with a rich history of art, music, and cuisine.
Taiwan.
Taiwanese architecture features traditional temples and modern skyscrapers. Taiwanese culture values traditional Chinese customs and a love for street food and night markets.
Tajikistan.
Tajik architecture includes mosques and ancient fortresses. Tajik culture is influenced by Persian traditions, with a strong emphasis on hospitality and traditional music.
Tanzania.
Tanzanian architecture varies from traditional huts to modern buildings. Tanzanian culture is diverse, with over 120 ethnic groups, and a rich tradition of dance, music, and Swahili language.
Thailand.
Thai architecture showcases ornate temples and modern cities. Thai culture is deeply influenced by Buddhism, with a love for Thai cuisine, traditional dance, and festivals.
Timor-Leste.
Timorese architecture includes traditional thatched roof houses and colonial-era buildings. Timorese culture celebrates its independence and indigenous traditions, including dance and music.
Togo.
Togolese architecture features traditional mud brick houses and modern buildings. Togolese culture is marked by diverse ethnic groups, each with its own traditions and music styles.
Tonga.
Tongan architecture includes traditional thatched huts and churches. Tongan culture values community, with strong traditional dance and music, including the popular Tauolunga dance. Trinidad and Tobago. The architecture of Trinidad and Tobago includes colonial-era buildings and modern developments. The culture is a mix of African, Indian, and Caribbean influences, celebrated through music, carnival, and diverse cuisine.
Tunisia.
Tunisian architecture features historic medinas and Islamic designs. Tunisian culture is influenced by Arab and Mediterranean traditions, with a love for couscous, tea, and traditional music.
Turkey.
Turkish architecture includes historic mosques, palaces, and modern cities. Turkish culture is a fusion of East and West, with a deep appreciation for cuisine, tea, and traditional Turkish baths.
Turkmenistan.
Turkmen architecture showcases modern monuments and traditional designs. Turkmen culture is influenced by Turkic traditions, with a strong emphasis on hospitality and traditional music.
Tuvalu.
Tuvaluan architecture includes traditional thatched huts and simple structures. Tuvaluan culture is deeply connected to the ocean, with traditional dance and music. Uganda. Ugandan architecture features traditional huts and modern buildings. Ugandan culture is diverse, with over 56 ethnic groups, each contributing to a rich tradition of music, dance, and storytelling.
Ukraine.
Ukrainian architecture includes Orthodox churches and historic towns. Ukrainian culture is marked by a love for borscht, embroidery, and traditional music like the bandura. United Arab Emirates. UAE architecture boasts modern skyscrapers, futuristic designs, and historic forts. UAE culture values hospitality and Islamic traditions, with a focus on luxury and innovation. United Kingdom. British architecture includes historic castles, Georgian buildings, and modern developments. British culture is diverse, with influences from England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, celebrated through literature, music, and iconic traditions like afternoon tea. United States of America. American architecture showcases a wide range of styles, from colonial to modern skyscrapers. American culture is incredibly diverse, with contributions from immigrants around the world, and a strong emphasis on freedom and individualism.
Uruguay.
Uruguayan architecture includes colonial-era buildings and modern developments. Uruguayan culture values soccer, football, tango music and dance, and a love for barbecue, asado.
Uzbekistan.
Uzbek architecture features intricate mosques and Silk Road cities. Uzbek culture is influenced by Persian and Turkic traditions, with a strong tradition of hospitality and traditional music.
Vanuatu.
Vanuatu's architecture includes traditional thatched huts and modern buildings. Vanuatu culture is rooted in indigenous customs, with a strong connection to nature and traditional dance. Venezuela. Venezuelan architecture showcases colonial-era buildings and modern developments. Venezuelan culture is influenced by a mix of indigenous, Spanish, and African traditions, with a passion for baseball and vibrant music.
Vietnam.
Vietnamese architecture includes ancient temples, French colonial buildings, and modern cities. Vietnamese culture values Confucianism, traditional Ao Dai clothing, and a love for pho, noodle soup.
Yemen.
Yemeni architecture features historic mud brick buildings and ancient cities. Yemeni culture is deeply rooted in tribal traditions, with a rich history of poetry and quat chewing.
Zambia.
Zambian architecture includes traditional huts and modern developments. Zambian culture celebrates diverse ethnic groups, with a love for traditional music, dance, and wildlife conservation.
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwean architecture showcases ancient stone ruins and colonial-era buildings. Zimbabwean culture is influenced by Shona and Ndebele traditions, with vibrant music and dance, including the famous mbira instrument.